So you have somebody to...
This is live streaming.
No, will somebody keep on changing the...
I can do that.
Okay, if you can do that, yes. So just say the next one and you can do that.
Yes. I have to work from here only, sir.
It's okay. No problem. I think so many things are being said. I was wondering, is this... I thought the session is over. So much has been said. So it's quite... in fact, I shared some of the things that traditionally which is asked for by Maitreya. And I told her, I said, just pick up a few. Which is relevant, but I think seems to have given my life history. Doesn't matter. I always believe that life is at one level short, unpredictable, but at another level you can do so much. You can do quite a lot. And we often have these problems of complaint of people say, I don't have time, I'm so busy. But I personally feel that if you have the passion, if you have the desire, and if you have the commitment, then nothing really is difficult, and the learning has to go on. Like, let me share this with you. Your director wanted to probe my years of service, my age really. So he just kind of, in an indirect manner, asked me, because I told him that I was one of the first residents of Chandigarh, for instance. Our family came from Simla to Chandigarh in 1954. That is when this Chandigarh started as a city, designed by famous architect Le Corbusier. So I'll be very direct. I'm going to be 75 in the month of July. And let me tell you, the amount of learning that I've been able to do in last 15 years, post my superannuation, is more than 60 years combined together. So that's something which has been with me for all this while. And even now, at any point of time, the learning continues. And I think it's something which is possible for all of us. And it's not merely learning, but at the same time, you explore opportunities and possible this thing to apply them in real life and share it with. And this is what I plan to do. The MC started making a statement that progress is possible only with the change. That's what you said. That progress is possible if there's change. But let me give you a counterpoint. There's a famous French philosopher who once said that plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. This is a French word. Plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. Translated in English, it means the more things change, more they remain the same. More things change, more they remain the same. You see, fundamentally, while change is inevitable, change is happening. Every moment is changing. While I'm sitting here and you're sitting there, you're changing. Your cells in your body are changing all the time. So change is happening. But fundamentally, human beings don't change over a period of time. We talk about terrorism, we talk about crime, we talk about in the present era. Go back to Mahabharata days. 100 men trying to disrobe a woman, Draupadi. When it's not happening today, it's happened those days also. So that it was all, it's not as if that change will happen, but unless our mindset and our thought process undergoes a change, the societal changes, the civilizational changes do not take place. So I think basically what we really need to understand that, am I changing? Am I willing, like Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you want the society to be. You should be the change. The change should really begin with you. You can't be crusader for changing the entire world. You cannot change everyone because, I reminded of a very old film. I don't know, many of you may not have seen that film called My Fair Lady. It was adapted on a play called Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. If some of you have done literature, you probably know. There's a beautiful film which Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison. So one of the statements Rex Harrison makes, why can't women be like men? They're so exasperating, so infuriating. Obviously, they cannot be like you. You're different from them. Men are different from women. Women are different from men. And we are different from. But each one has a fundamental desire, fundamental consciousness, which is of universal nature. So if we really want to change the entire universe, which change is going to happen, which is inevitable, then we really need to start with ourselves and look around as to what is that I can do to make a change in the lives of others. We are here for a change from 1947 to 2047. That's a picture that we're imagining. This is why we are all here. Vikasit Bharat. Now, I will just take you through a few set of slides which I prepared, but that's only one kind of a demonstrative effect. But I think most importantly, what is essential is that we need to start looking inwards and find out that whether all that is happening around the universe, or whether it's happening in a limited context in our relations, our friendship and society and the country and the universe, is it really the right thing for us to? Is it kind of a thing which is taking us into the right directions or not? That self introspection, we call it meditation. Meditation become a fashion word, but self introspection has to be done constantly at all levels, and that's a kind of a I often sometimes I wonder. People say that we are meditating, we are thinking, we are unfortunately, let's just reflect upon this. Most of the time, we are not thinking ourselves. We're only responding to what others are saying. There's a difference between what is called kriya and pratikriya, reaction, action, and reaction. Just look at, all of us are living largely in the reactionary mode. Somebody comes and pulls a switch, and we become jealous. Somebody comes and pulls a switch, and we become angry, and then respond to the reactions. There's a very famous incident involving Buddha. So somebody asked him, came and told him, "Look, you look so serene, so much at peace with yourself. What is the secret of your?" So Buddha said, "You can also be like that." He says, "How do I become like that?" He says, "There's two categories." I'm slightly digressing from the main subject, but I think that's the fundamental, because we can think about these disruptions and changes. We all are mostly familiar. I'll take you through that also, but let me just touch base with you on very, very fundamental, foundational aspect of our existence. So Buddha told him, "Look, there are two kinds of arrows that are hit on us. Two kinds of arrows. The first arrow is which the world throws at us. It'll keep on happening. Nature, disease, abuses, relationship, problems, bosses, this, that, and other. Adversity, at catastrophes. The word nature will keep on throwing. I mean, you can't do anything about that. The second arrow is the one which is your reaction to that first arrow. If you react to it in a negative manner, you become angry, you become upset, so it's that second arrow that you need to be careful about. How do you react? How do you respond to a situation? And that requires certain degree of maturity, certain degree of reflection, certain degree of understanding that whatever is happening in this world is both in terms of it being transitory, and at the same time should not actually leave a permanent damage to your consciousness. That is, I think, is extremely important. And I think we carry this kind of grouses and problems of the past and the anxiety of the future, and make our present irrelevant. We don't stop living in the present. We're either we're upset about what we did previously yesterday and what's going to happen to us tomorrow. So we sort of give up the present. Having said that, I'll come back to this subject later, because I think there's something very, very, very important for us to be able to. And I shall pose this question at the end of the session to really understand who we really are. You see, if you understand who you really are, then I can tell you what is your true identity. What is it that you have? What are your possessions? What are your instruments? If you understand them very carefully, holistically, I think half your problems in life would be solved. And in that situation, if you are problem free, only that situation you will be able to contribute to Viksit Bharat. We're so much worried about our own personal problems, that it's very difficult for us to look outside and what we need to contribute to society and things. So let me just sort of start this thing, and you can take the first one. So you uh, just look at the three. I mean, these are not exhaustive. There were many more other reasons of disruptions, but fundamentally, looking to the present kind of situations we're going through, technology, we all know. You guys are technicals. You know better than anybody else that the manner in which technology is kind of creating chaos, problems, not only chaos, but also bringing in some methods at the same time. But the fact is that technology has become a very powerful kind of a omnipresent, omniscient kind of a accomplice that we have today. And somehow the pressure of technology, the onslaught of technology, has been far more aggressive and intense in the last about 20 years. We had technology earlier on. Previous century also saw a lot of technology application, etc. But the manner in which technology has blasted our existence, has woken us up from our deep slumber, has never happened. And it is not the end of the story. I think the way it is moving around, the way things like we today have Chat GPT, as we got open AIs and got generative AIs, and God knows what's going to happen tomorrow. What kind of super intelligence might come? We might have, intelligence coming from other planets. You never know. You go to Mars and moons and suns and wherever you never could possibly predict. We could not predict 20 years earlier that this is going to happen today. So technology has disrupted us, our existence in manner in which is completely unprecedented. And as I say, I don't need to spend much time because all of you are quite familiar with it. And the more important part is this technology has started behaving like God. In other words, it has started interfering in every aspect of our existence. The child, even before he reaches the age of 2, starts dribbling with computers, start dribbling with phones, and sort of. So he gets into the computers, or he gets into the technology mode right from the beginning. So it becomes he doesn't really have sufficient time for him to grow, to be a human being. I mean, I will not touch upon that aspect. But I remember your old days. What we early first 5, 6, 7, 10 years of our existence, we used to be playful, we used to be happy, we used to be laughing, we used to be hitting each other because you would be running around each other. Today the child doesn't run around because he's static, he's glued. I'm not making judgment, right or wrong, but that's what it is. So that's where, and right till the end, people dying on the deathbed. Probably a person in the hospital or maybe at home is dying, but he'll probably have a phone along with him, sitting next to him. And he compulsively he'll reach out to it. Have I got his message? Has I got a missed call or something? Something that can't happen. So this is where we are today in terms of technology. Of course, the climate change. I mean, we are all familiar with this. These are very, very tangible kind of impacts which have disrupted our existence in all. Today, imagine, in the month of June, you get snowfalls in some of the places. The glaciers are melting. Pollution's in Delhi, the place that I come from. So there was another respite here coming to Chandigarh, little respite, but then this is how the climate change, and I seems to me that this is one particular area where each one of us has to have a strong commitment. I understand that your director is doing environmental engineering, so that's very very happy kind of a very important relevant areas of study. But environment today must, and sustainability of all our actions By the way, I don't know, you probably are aware of, must be aware of United Nations Development Program, SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. There's 17 goals which were agreed to by 193 nations worldwide. They finally signed the document in Rio de Janeiro sometime in 2015 with a goal of achieving them by 2030. We already have passed 9 years, and most of us don't even know what these goals are. 17 sustainable development. By the way, I wrote 2 books on the subject. I mean, maybe sometime I can send it across to your institution for the sustainable development goals. Just imagine it, not merely from our perspective that we are living here today, and we have the environment which is becoming very, very adverse to our situations, and the environmental cost to the economy also can be humongous. We can't even calculate that. But I'm going to a very, very structured impact of the environmental changes. Just imagine the way we're going on, the carbon emissions and ozone depletions and climate change and biodiversity, etc., coming up. There's a big question mark whether we will survive in this planet or not. It is not a false kind of a possibility. It can happen real time. There have been in the past where people have played with nature big time. There has been extinctions happening to several species. So human beings are not very special species that we cannot become extinct. We can, if we do not pay heed to these changes that are happening, not only from our perspective, but for the next generation, for our children, our grandchildren. And mind you, if you believe in Indian philosophy of reincarnation, maybe it's to you, 100 years later, you come back again, rebirth. So the important thing is that we have to become sensitive to the kind of planet, the kind of environment that we're living in. I was just now discussing a little earlier that you must regard yourself as a tenant to this planet Earth. You're not a landlord. You don't own anything. Whatever you own actually belongs to the government. I mean, it's long-term lease or some such thing. So you are a tenant. You making usage of that facility while you're living here. When you're gone, it doesn't make a difference. But as a tenant, you got to pay rent. If you don't pay rent, the landlord will throw you out. But are we paying the rent to the earth, which sustains us? We get food, we get water, we get everything that we need for our existence. Have you ever thought, are we paying any rent? Are we paying back debts to society, to earth? Resources cannot be inexhaustible. They are limited. They're finite. So unless and Earth operates on the principle what is called rejuvenation of its resources, recycling of its resources. That's why we talk about revival, recycling, etc. There's no such thing as infinite, nowhere. So as a fundamental duty, without anybody asking, without anybody telling us, as a fundamental duty, I think it's very important for us to keep on, even if it could be a small amount, keep on doing something for this planet, its people, forests, trees, animals, human beings. I think this should be something. I would suggest that take a diary and note it down every day. What is it that you've done at the end of the day? These are good habits, you see, in a smaller context, it may not impact you. You think that it doesn't make a difference if I don't do anything for somebody, if I don't plant a tree, it doesn't. But mind you, that's what is going to make an impact in totality. It is not in a. We're all, when the earthquake comes, or everyone dies. When the storm comes into a ship and a sea, everyone perishes. Whether he is guilty or not guilty doesn't make a difference. So it is not as it's only the forest department responsibility to plant forest. It's very much ours because we draw air from. So I'm just trying to sensitize you to the fact that environment is something that we all need to become sensitive about. And even little contribution that we make over a period of time, everyone makes that, will make a difference, will make a change. That's what we need to do. That, of course, these are very obvious statements, conflicts the world over. Conflicts happen because of several factors that I don't need to go on religion, on politics, on difference of opinion. And they reach at that particular level. Imagine we call ourselves a civilized society. We claim to be civilized world, and we have no hesitation in going and killing our neighbors next door. What kind of civilization is that? Russia has no problems in going and killing people in Ukraine. Israel has no problem, or by vice versa. I mean, I'm not holding any brief for one country, but then we don't bat an eyelid in killing somebody. Not merely human beings, but also human beings. So chalo bahut badi. We don't even mind killing. We don't spare a thought for animals, insects, ants, without realizing that their existence is as important for us as our existence today. And everything, you must understand, every creation in this world has a purpose. And there's so much to learn from them. I recently they mentioned about my being a bit of a poet in me. So I wrote a poem on ant. And it was so heart-touching, very interesting story. I was sitting on my washroom and I found one little ant walking in and then going down to one slightly bigger ant, which is probably had collapsed and died. That little ant went to that dead ant, which is bigger in size, and tried to pull it, tried to take her away to safety. This is, and have you ever noticed two ants when they go in, they greet each other? For a small moment, they meet each other, greet each other, and they move on. Do we do that? We leave around strangers, we don't even say hello to our friends sometimes. So I'm just trying to say that there's so much to learn, provided we keep our eyes and ears open, but we are so much tied up with our own problems. Our thoughts are so overpowering. Our neural pathways are clogged. There's no scope for us to think in a positive mode of what is it that I need to do for others. So conflicts are, again, the figures are there, the kind of cost it, it's a very subjective cost. It could be more, it could be less, but that doesn't matter. But then obviously this is a kind of a strong impediment in the road to Vikasit Bharat or Vikasit Vishwa, whichever way you want to say. So unless the conflict resolution mechanism has to be created amongst all of us, and the desire to overpower, desire to dominate others, desire to feel superior over others, I think one of the very important reasons for continuous conflict that we face in this world. So these are, as I said, not very exhaustive reasons for disruption, but maybe could be. So what has it resulted in? What has it resulted in? Disruption of human emotions. We become so mechanized, become so mechanical. I remember some people आजकल husband and wife, they don't tell each other either where she went or किस kitty party में गई थी. Facebook में एक दूसरे को बताते हैं. So I mean, we've come to that kind of situation, becoming so inhuman, so devoid of any emotion. And human beings are, we say we are gregarious animals, we are sociable animals. Where is that sociability? Where is it disappeared? So these disruptions have resulted in that kind of syndrome that we see all around. इसको किस प्रकार से इसमें संशोधन लाने की आवश्यकता, how do we need to change it or we need to bring about, is an issue which requires both collective action as well as individual reflection. I think we need to resort to both these methods and things. So let's move on to that. Okay. So you can just see through. I don't need to speak about each of these. They're all self-evident. The climate crisis, the biodiversity, we know about the several species last many 100 years, thousands of years becoming extinct. We only have stories about them. We only have some imprints about them, but we cannot get to see them. And mind you, this species sometimes is very difficult for them to revive themselves. Can you imagine dinosaurs coming back to our Earth? No, very difficult, almost impossible. And they had a tremendous role to play. Now, robotics, artificial intelligence, we just talked about that. Now, artificial intelligence also has multiple kind of variations. Coming in form of chat GPT, I said, we just mentioned AR, VR, and name it, IoTs and Alexas and everything, those kinds. And here the AI people will tell you that today we are still at a very, very basic level of AI. You know about Alexa? Alexa is the first indication of artificial intelligence. And then, of course, now you're moving up the scale, and God knows where are we going to end up. And but one, I always say, I draw some kind of a inquiry from people who, I said, artificial intelligence by sheer definition will continue to remain artificial intelligence. The big question is that it may become very intelligent, and nobody is super intelligent, but it cannot substitute what is a natural intelligence. And I don't know, some of you probably might be aware that this cerebral cortex that we have, this brain that we call it brain and intellect we have, it's got 50 billion neurons in it. 50 multiplied by 90, you can just imagine. So 5 into 10, 0, that is the number of neurons that we have. And imagine the kind of, how many tetrabyte or gig, I don't even know. Gigabyte, tetrabyte, what kind of bytes it possibly would have. But unfortunately, you see, we needed to get artificial intelligence is about to come. Because for a simple reason, can you tell why? Why has it come? Can anybody make a guess? It had to come because most of us, I just told you the capacity of our brain. Majority of us did not use more than 10% of our brain capacity. So this guy was waiting on the wings, He said the human beings are not even using that. So let me just step in. They say if you're using 10%, if you use 15% of your intelligence, you get a Nobel Prize. That's such gross utilization of our capacity. For a simple reason that we don't use this because we are tied up in so many of our personal problems, our desires, our anxieties, our negativities. They don't let us think about in a more positive manner. इतने परेशान रहते हैं हम लोग दुनिया से, इसने ये कह दिया, उसने वो कह दिया. कहाँ है हमारे पास अपनी natural intelligence को use करने? Because therefore AI was okay. There is a space, there is a gap. This man is not going to use his intelligence which God has given. So let me step in. So AI now has become far more important in natural intelligence. But having said that, AI cannot go to the full length of human endeavors. Very simple reason, very simple statement I will make. AI can do faster calculations. AI can make your life very easy. It can even, like Chat GPT. Somebody is telling me that Chat GPT को बोला कि इसके मेरे बेटे के जन्मदिन पे एक पोइम लिख दो. तो quickly within a minute he wrote a poem. Then he says, okay, he's another quality, write another poem. He wrote another poem. So he wrote 10 poems on the same child. I mean, isn't that crazy? But that's what your Chat GPT can do for you, and gives you prompts so you can. But what it cannot do, what Chat GPT or AI cannot do, is can somebody make a guess? Can somebody make a guess? Emotional intelligence. Okay, but have you heard the latest changes? Did you hear about Neuralink? Have you heard about Neuralink? Elon Musk thing, Neuralink. He's earlier on, the chip used to plant it outside the brain. Today is planted inside the brain. When he's able to read out, you see, at the end of all, emotions are what? I told you about the 50 billion neurons. The MRI, or there's the latest technology called electroencephalograms, which actually, when you look inside, you only see electric currents, electric phenomena happening. Neurons have some electric field. Now, inside the brain is only, you don't find anything except neurons. You find more brain. If you open your skull, you can't see anything which is actually demonstrated in a tangible manner. No, it's only neurons and neurons and neurons. You might find if there's somebody either upset or happy or in danger or a problem, you might find some different electrical activities. That part of the brain lights up. Oh, he's got a problem. He's got a stroke. So that part becomes a little different. Otherwise, it looks the same. As the entire ocean looks the same, the entire desert looks the same. But it gives you some kind of, so it gives a lead to the doctor. That part of brain is different from the rest of it. Let me just try and work it out. One particular thing which is the artificial intelligence cannot have is, of course, we talked about emotions, but more fundamental than that is what is called pure awareness, consciousness, which is not a subject of only mind, intellect, and body. It is something which is universal for all of us. For example, if you ask somebody, they talk about driverless cars these days. So is driverless car is programmed to drive through different impediments and navigate its journey. But is somebody telling you that car has feelings and emotions? Can you think about that? Will that car has, or whoever is driving, will it have emotions? Will it have feelings? No. It is there only of signals. It's programmed to do that. We are not, human beings are not programmed. We're not robots. We got to be different from that. So that is where I think it's very important for us to see that kind of a difference between what we define as artificial intelligence and what actually, to what is extent it can take us. It has already taken us very far. But what is the limit, and can we step in some stage to make sure that we are not completely swamped by that? We don't completely mortgage all that we have to the wretched thing called AI. It's got a lot of advantages. People who are doing AI obviously would swear by its efficacy, and of course there is. But I think we really have to be very careful about as to what is the level of disruption AI can possibly create. And then these are pandemics, of course, conflicts we already have. Let's move on to the next one. So what is the solution to the problem? With all these things happening, what is the way ahead? Most of you have studied science. So in physics, you must have read energy subject. You have energy, optics, mechanics, sound. No, these are chapters that if I'm talking about school physics, there's a chapter on energy also. Anything that you remember about energy, anything special about energy, the concept of energy? Very fundamental principle. Yes. So in putting it another way, it cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. So which really means at all given point of time in the universal history, the sum total of energy remains constant. Right? So it neither gets. So there's a phenomena called exothermic and endothermic. You need energy to create energy, and having created you created that energy, you use another kind of energy. So sum total remains the same. Let me give you a bit of a spiritual connect here. You heard about the famous भगवत गीता जो आप देखते हैं, महाभारत का युद्ध देखते हैं, सबसे बड़ी पिक्चर कौन सी जब सभी जगह लगी रहती है, सभी दीवारों पे, मंदिरों में, जगह पे. So उसमें एक 2 श्लोक बहुत फेमस है. Does anybody remember? 2 श्लोक्स. They're iconic. And if you know Bhagavad Gita, if you know Mahabharata, you cannot miss that. Anybody can recite fully? No. Okay, that's good enough. I'm glad. So you've given the lead. That's the one. Yada yada dharmasya glanirvabhati bharata abhyutthanam dharmasya tadaatmanam sajjamyam paritranaya sadhanam vinashaya cha dushkitam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Now, you see, look at this this too. The one interpretation is that he says, look, whenever evil raises its head, then to restore goodness and to protect the good people, I appear in this universe in different time zones. Sambhavami yuge yuge. I come to this earth. Now, what does he come here for? Now, what is he trying to say? He says when the good becomes less, evil becomes more. So what happens is there is a imbalance in energy in system. There's imbalance. I mean, you can't have good existing all the time. You can't even at the same time. You can't. It's not sustainable. So one interpretation is one, of course, is that I appear in this universe as God incarnate, Krishna. Another more fundamental scientific interpretation of this concept is that I come here to restore a balance of energy. Yada yada dharmasya glanirabhavati bharata. Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the good people. Patranaya sadhuna, vinashaya cha dushkitam, to destroy the bad people, evil people. I appear, my basic purpose is to create a balance. This is what we are looking at. At the end of it all, this is also called equanimity, equipoise, equilibrium, samatva bhav. There's several kind of words that you can use for this purpose. You see, all things will happen. We cannot say that climate mein gadabad ho raha hai, so we will not use petrol or will not use coal. Development has to happen, continue to happen. But are we doing it in a mindless manner? Are we exploiting it? Or are we using it in, the famous statement by another very great people. There's enough resources in this world for fulfilling the need of the people, but there's not enough for fulfilling the greed of the people. But we become greedy. Development initiatives have to be taken, but at an even keel, to make sure that whatever resources that we use are actually, we give enough time to planet Earth to rejuvenate it, so that it's available to us whenever we ask for it. So that's why samatva. So we need to create a balance. This is, I think, the journey that we need to start. Let's not, this phenomena has resulted in such a skewed level of development. 9% of people in this world own more than 60% of wealth in this world. Now, is it sustainable? That is why conflict will happen. मतलब अगर आप 100 में से 9 लोगों के पास पूरी दुनिया की प्रॉपर्टी है तो कैसे आप how will people survive? How you would expect to be? So I think this is what we had deliberately, consciously allowed this thing to happen. I think this is where each one of us, I don't know what we can do. The governmental, societies, civilization, all have to sort of pour in. We can't allow Ambanis and Adanis only to survive in this world. We can't allow only Jeff Bezos and people of this Warren Buffett to claim all, or even Microsoft guys to be. It has to be a distributive justice. In fact, this is one of the UN's Sustainable Development Program's objectives. Distributive justice has to be enforced by each one of us at our level. So next one. So these are the trends that you can possibly see, which are impacting education, skilling, emerging business model, jobs and skills, dealing with the disruptions. So these are different kind of trends which are, and I will come to the next level, how these trends are exemplifying, demonstrating themselves in driving or impacting the disruption. What is the way forward for us to? First, we got to understand how they're disrupting it. Next one. So, digitalization of economy, we already have discussed that. Use of AI and everyone connected, data, more data, enough data. Some people have started making these statements, which has become very cliche. Data is the new oil. Data is everything. Data is the God. Pata nahi kya kya. But data itself would be cringing in its graveyard when it hears about these statements. But then we become so dependent, and data can also be very, very misleading. Like the famous statement, there are statistics, there are data, and there are lies. And there are more lies, So the famous statement, statistician. Um, so, and we get carried away by this, and without applying our mind. This is given a situation, sort of we don't apply ourselves into this kind of a impacts our decision making. Wrong data can take us. So you got to be very careful. Whatever data you generate has to be within the probable limits, feasible limits. It cannot be outlandish. It cannot be irrelevant. And use the data in a manner in which actually gives you the right kind of a decision direction, and you're able to leverage it for best possible usage. Now, these are kind of things which are probably self-evident. Smart homes in cities and learning model, and these are all the symptoms that you see in educational paradigm, particularly, which I'm quite connected with, and mushrooming of coaching institutions, a parallel kind of Byju's and Unacademies of the word. And what happens is that these models are not long-term sustainable. Byju's, by the way, at one stage, only a few months ago, had a valuation about 50 billions. Today is down to about 200 millions. It's such a fantastic crash, because you're not able to sustain this kind of model. You cannot substitute a good schooling system by these silly kind of fly-by-night operators who make quick money and at the end of it all. I mean, nothing against that, but you really have to tried and tested methods, starting from the Gurukul system that we had, moving on to the present school system where everyone bonds together. You don't learn only in the classroom, but you learn by a lot of other things in terms of bonding, in terms of connecting with each other, in terms of the peer pressure and peer learning. So next one. Now, it's probably known to all of us that the automation has been happening in a very fast pace. And the next level of automation will happen when, in fact, they say another 5 years time, people are making a prediction, 5 years time, all the diesel and petrol cars would be eased away. You'll only have electric cars. 5 years, not going to be. And all this auto industry has started kind of replacing their construction, the industrial models and systems and things. And another offshoot of this is that 5, 6, 7 years later, nobody would own a car, which is a good thing. Today, the kind of things that are happening, everyone has a car. You go in Delhi at any time, 24 hours, it's packed. So nobody will own a car. Like the Uber model. Uber doesn't own a single car. I hope you are aware. They don't own a single car. It's a different model altogether. And all these petrol pumps would be a thing of past. There will be charge stations, which in the battery can be, and there's no breakdown. Breakdown happens, the battery can be changed in 5 minutes time. The diesel car probably has about 500 parts. Electric car will have only 2-3 parts primary. So this is a kind of a mind-boggling. I mean, you can't even imagine the kind of changes. And if you want to go from one place to another, just click your phone and you can get a car in about maybe less than the time that Uber does these days. Because, so, and a lot of things will be happening in a very automation mode. You see, automation, please remember, automation at one stage might create comfort level for you, might give you facility. But automation also has very strong flip side to it. एक चीज जरूर याद रखिए, जिस चीज में आपको बहुत मजा आराम आने लगे, सुख बहुत प्राप्त होना शुरू हो जाए, कंफर्ट आना शुरू हो जाए, वो समझ लिए आपकी बर्बादी का साइन है. That's Maya, there's very beautiful. Yadagre vishame pariname amritopamam. Whatever is bitter to begin with is good for you. हल्दी, क्या होता है वो, जितने कड़वे सब्जियां होती हैं, करेला होता है, ऑल फार्मास्यूटिकल फॉर्मुलेशन. कोई दवाई होम्योपैथी को छोड़ दीजिए, होम्योपैथी की दवाई कड़वी होती है, मीठी गोलियां डाल देते हैं उसके अंदर. कोई दवाई आज मुझे बता दीजिए कोई मीठी, आपने चखी कोई मीठी दवाई? दिस इज ओनली एड ऑन टू मेक थिंग्स इजी फॉर यू. कॉफ सिरप टाइप जो होता है. So anyway, these are some of the basic things that you need to experience. जहां मुझे किसी चीज में आनंद आने लगा, it must ring a bell. मेरी बर्बादी का बायस बनने वाला. So what I'm not saying that you give up. I'm not saying you give up. But make sure that where to stop, when to stop. So the automation takes you to a great comfort level. It gives, and so you stop walking. आप पता लगा कि आप गाड़ी में हैं, आपने स्विच ऑन किया, आपका एसी चल गया, तो आगे घर पहुंचने पे पहले सब कुछ ठंडा मिले आपको अंदर. दिस इज ऑलरेडी हैपनिंग. फ्रिज इज ऑन एंड फ्रिज इज ऑफ, एंड यू डोंट हैव मुझे याद है जब टीवी पहली बार आया था, 70 की बात करते थे, हम लोग उठते थे, उसको स्विच ऑन करते थे, वो गड़बड़ होता था, फिर ऊपर एंटीना होता था, बहुत सारे तामझाम करने पड़ते थे. आज ऐसे बैठ के आप लेटे में तो कर लीजिए, सब चैनल 50 चैनल चेंज कर लीजिए. एंड दैट इज ब्रॉट अबाउट दिस. यू नो समथिंग, हम लोग अमेरिका के बारे में वी हैव सम काइंड ऑफ सेंस ऑफ एनवी एंड जेलसी कि बहुत विकसित देश है. यू नो the most unhealthy nation in the world, most unhealthy nation, according to their own survey, is America. The level of obesity, the level of wastage, and they are supposed to be the highest at the level of automation in terms of technology. And where are they heading for? So automation is a kind of a double-edged weapon. You should know कि कहाँ पे इसको मुझे कितना ऑटोमेशन करना है. ऑटोमेशन तो वो तो होगा, because human beings have a tendency to sort of seek comfort. Comfort मिलेगा तो मेरे को नहीं. But we are not designed to be only at comfort level. We're designed to go into much larger areas in terms of activity, in terms of actions, in terms of a lot of exercises, body, this, that, another. I mean, the multiple regime, and nobody has to tell you these are the things but we need to sort of make sure that what is the level of automation that we are looking at. So these are just statistics, figures. I mean, in any case, I'll share. You already have this template with you. So if anybody wants to know more about the figures, can take it from. So I'll not go into that. So these are creative economy, web tech. I mean, these are technical words. I think all of you are quite familiar. You guys are into computer and technical. So आप लोगों के लिए तो this is not any rocket science. It's all known to you. These figures and jargons and things are not. I'm personally also not enamored too much of that. But just to share the template with you. Next. Now, this is what we were talking about. Is it not a familiar scene?
This is my home dining table looks like.
Everybody dining room looks like. Not only a dining room, every room, every house looks like that. Every metro cabin look like that. I remember, I think आज की 10-12 साल पहले हो गया इस चीज को तो. And my wife had gone to Colombo, and we were sitting in one of the restaurants, and there was a round table, and there were 14 Chinese sitting there, and the food was served, and all 14 had a phone in their hand, and nobody's looking at each other, nobody's talking to each other. So what kind of a damned emotion are we talking about? What is a damned emotional quotient that we are talking about? But insan, machine. We're fast moving, heading towards becoming a machine. And even worse than machine. Machine to kuch kar deti hai, hum log usme bhi nikamme ho rahe hain. We'll become terrible machines without any emotional quotient, without any spiritual quotient. We just be kind of settled, gross body. And gross body ko to, there's nothing you can do about it. You only need to dispose it of it. There's no use at all. So I think these are signs, these are trends. And I think this is the most fundamental trend. Please remember, and we have what is called COD. Have you heard about COD? Compulsive obsessive disorder. I remember कुछ काम नहीं करते हैं, कुछ कर रहे हैं तो हाथ बिना ऐसे चले जाता है इधर, बिना देखता नहीं पर चला जाता है. And it's not going to, there's nothing new in this. But what thing bajta hai and you and you get into that space. I don't know what is the solution to this problem. I cannot recommend it. Each one has to decide. You got to devise. You got to decide, is that the priority for you? Useless engagement, is that a priority for you? Or something more, spending time yourself, creativity, more thinking through out of the box and, learning, doing new things, many more things. I'm not against this technology, but it can give you some leads, it can give you prompts, it can help you in learning. There's so much learning can happen through this. But how much are you, in what manner are you going to use that learning? It becomes a question, which I think each one at individual level has got to take a call. There's no one set formula which applies to everyone. We got to take a call. What are we heading for? We want to become machines? We become very mechanical? So that's your choice. You can sort of make a choice on that. So this picture, I want everyone to take a good look at it, and will possibly find it very familiar. Everyone. आज वो हमारे 2 drivers हैं. I think my son, and we got about 3 drivers between us. And मेरे पास तो एक ही phone है, उन drivers के पास 2 phones हैं. And we got something like about 90 crore mobile phones in this country, maybe more than 100 crores. So I think this is society. We got such wonderful heritage, we got such wonderful possessions, we got beautiful things in our country. But aping the West and blindly following, without understanding what it might lead to, will not give us Viksit Bharat. I'm sorry, Director Saab, ये Viksit Bharat के sign नहीं होंगे. हमको we'll have to do something different, a mix of what we used to be earlier and the modern. I'm not against modern technology. Blend it, use it wherever, but don't stay grounded in your value system, in your heritage, I will use the word strong spirituality. You should be strongly spiritually grounded. By spirituality, I do not mean going to a temple or going to Ayodhya, but you can have Ram idol, you can have Shiv, you can have Parvati, you can have Krishna, wherever you want to. You can have even Jesus Christ or Muhammad. But that's not spirituality. Spirituality is following certain idols and certain beliefs. And तुलसीदास जी का एक वो है रामचरितमानस. परहित, he defines religion. परहित सम कोई धर्म न भाई. परहित सम कोई धर्म न भाई. पर पीड़ा नहीं सम अधमाई. There's no better religion in this world except helping somebody out. परहित, दूसरे का हित में. पर पीड़ा सम नहीं अधमाई. दूसरे को तकलीफ देने से बुरा कोई पाप नहीं. अधमाई. So don't go into, I'm personally not enamored of making, that's only, I think what happens is that we also use this kind of things to our own advantage, whatever comfort, whatever suits us. हम लोग रोजाना, most of us were religious. I think majority of us are religious in हिंदुस्तान में, तो चाहे वो Christians हो, चाहे Muslims हो, चाहे Hindus हो, चाहे Jains हो, सब कुछ ना कुछ करते हैं. हम लोग सुबह घंटे बजा देते हैं और मंदिर में भगवान का नाम लेते हैं, ओम जय जगदीश टाइप कर लेते हैं, या whatever hymns and things, and we think that we've done our job, so we relieved. One aspect of our activity has been done, but I can tell you it doesn't give you anything at all. It does not add to your. Don't forget about ringing a bell. Go and किसी गरीब का भला कर दीजिए, किसी को खाना खिला दीजिए, किसी की मदद कर दीजिए. That will give you better brownie points in the eyes of whoever you worship, whoever you. नहीं, लेकिन हम लोग, we develop this cognitive bias. कि यही करना, मेरे माँ बाप करते रहे थे, दादा कर मंदिर में छोटे जाके घंटी बजाना, सिर निभाना, ही रिलीजन है. नो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, जाइए घंटी बजाइए, बट दैट इज नॉट धर्म. व्हाट दिस नॉट स्पिरिचुअलिटी. इट इज ओनली वो खोखला एक पर्टिकुलर आइडियोलॉजी, a particular system that you're following, that practice. And again, let me say, all these Hindus, Muslims, Isai, Jain, Sikh, Zoroastrians, इनके जो basic principle है is exactly the same. The originator of these religions spoke just one language. We are down the line have distorted it to serve our own advantage, to serve our own purpose. हमने ये परंपरा, अच्छा वो अब बताइए, मैं एक वो अक्सर में राम मंदिर अयोध्या में जब हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी जाके वो कॉन्सेक्रेशन कर रहे थे, तो एक दिमाग में मेरे बात ये आई थी कि उस समय प्रधानमंत्री थे या गवर्नर्स थे या पंडित जी थे, वही जा पाते थे. बट मेरे को जाने का मौका क्यों नहीं मिला, आपको जाने का मौका क्यों नहीं मिला? बट हम विल हैव टू वेट फॉर, पहले वो दर्शन कर लें. Now the question is that, is God imprisoned in that area? We can talk about these temples and this, that and other, but at any given point of time, चलो उस समय तो भीड़ भाड़ थी, वीआईपीस थे. साल भर बाद भी जब आप जाएंगे तो आपके राम के दर्शन आपको बहुत दूर से करने पड़ेंगे. पंडित विल नॉट अलाउ यू टू गो एंड टॉक टू हेलो जी, राम जी क्या हाल है, हाउ आर यू? So we created that distance between God and us. There is a famous statement by Vivekananda. We need to humanize our relationship with God and divinize our relationship with human beings. हम जो हमारे बगल में बैठा है उसको तो दुत्कारते हैं और जाते हैं भगवान के नाम, वो हिपोक्रेटिकली उसके सामने चढ़ाते हैं, ये करते हैं. और देन ऑफ कोर्स वी नेगोशिएट विद गॉड आल्सो. तुम ये करोगे तो मैं करूंगा. एंड थर्ड थिंग वी डू इज द ब्राह्मण, द पंडित जो है ना वहां पे, he generates fear in your mind of God. ईश्वर का डर, ईश्वर का खौफ पैदा करते हैं. Sorry, I'm giving a slightly different version of how we treat God. क्या ईश्वर का डर, हमने चीजें को भूत टाइप है क्या? He's an object of love and worship. So even in our spiritual, so I just try to redefine what we think about spirituality. I'm not saying that don't go to temple, because वो रोजी रोटी बहुत पंडों की वहीं चलती है, आप लोगों के जाने से चलती है, जाइए, but be very clear in your mind that what is it that you're looking for. But over and above that, you really understand what your duty is towards environment, your people, to that is what will, you see, हम विकसित भारत का जो concept है, I can say with absolute confidence, the biggest strength that this country has, the biggest strength this country is, we talked about technology, we talked about AIs, we talked about emotional quotient. The biggest strength, mind you, हमारी इस देश की, इस परंपरा की, हमारे देश की, वो हमारी spiritual quotient है. And we need to broad base that the definition of spirit. We have several dimensions. We got physical dimension, we got intellectual dimension, emotional dimension, social dimension, and quotients, and spiritual quotient. And spiritual quotient is really the foundation. अगर आपका ये नहीं है तो ना आप खुश रहेंगे. अगर आप खुश नहीं रहेंगे तो विकसित भारत होता रहे आपकी बला से. If not every citizen of this country is not happy and be proud to belong to this great nation, there is no use. विकसित तो अमेरिका बहुत ज्यादा है, but the most, again, unhealthiest, and the biggest terrorist nation in the world according to the surveys, again America. The most unhappy people in the world are in those countries which are developed. So development by itself doesn't make a difference at all unless people are वो कहते हैं ना कि मैं तुम ये क्यों कर रहे हो, मैं ये कर रहा हूँ इसके पैसा कमाऊंगा। तो बोलो पैसा कमाऊंगा तो क्या होगा, पैसा कमाऊंगा तो बच्चों को देखूंगा, फिर और क्या करो, आगे बढ़ूंगा, फिर क्या होगा कि आई विल बी वेरी हैप्पी. So ultimate goal is happy. You can be happy even without that. That's your mindset. This is what you need to be looking at. And what is it that gives you happiness? It is not money, it's not development, it's not all. It is the sense of belonging, sense of doing something, sense of being helped to. And I would say that Vikasit Bharat concept can emerge without anything else if we have show concern for each other, want to each other, collective responsibility, collective delivery of our objects and our goals and our ambitions. If we all get together that, we got huge amount of reserves, you got huge amount of commitment towards our nation. I think this is what Viksit Bharat would really emerge then. And अगर विकसित भारत दूसरी उस मॉडल पे होता है जिस मॉडल पे अमेरिका हुआ है या चाइना हुआ है, तो आई डोंट वांट दैट विकसित भारत. You can record it and convey it to Ministry of Education. If that is the kind of I'm not looking for that Viksit Bharat. I'm looking for everyone. I'm looking for Viksit Bharat where people go back to the so-called what is called Ram Rajya, where everyone had freedom. We got the fundamental rights where everyone had complete freedom, expression, joy, happiness to follow their own conscious, follow their own principle. That's what. Anyway, we tend to digress. But anyway, let's move on to the next. Let me quickly. Oh, how much time we are running out of time?
No
jab tak aap bolenge.
Key questions.
So what factors will affect demand in a particular sector? What tasks, job roles emerge? So these are questions that we need to ask. What skills are expected to emerge? So you see, again, coming to skills part, we were discussing in the pedagogical practices in your institution or wherever we are need to undergo a complete transformation. Let's move out from the book. Let's go out from the classrooms. Let's find new spaces, learning spaces. Let's leave out didactic and become more experiential. Let's do, they say, you tell me and I forget. You make me do it, I learn. So I think that is what really, I think each of you, all teachers and faculty, you are teachers here. Some of you will become teachers in other institutions. Please remember that. You can go on speaking whatever you are, but unless you make people do that, realize it, hands-on, experiential, the retention doesn't happen. So I think that these are skills that you, and another thing which future beckons for all of us. There was a time, and I think you heard her saying that I spent 38 years of my service in IS. एक नौकरी आ गई, इम्तिहान दिया, माता पिताजी ने कहा चलो बेटा बड़ी अच्छी नौकरी चले जाओ उसके. तो I spent 38 years. This is not going to happen for you. On average, each one of you going to spend 5, 6, 7 different kind of jobs in your lifetime. And you got to be prepared for it. So you need to broad-based, become transdisciplinary, have multiple kind of understanding, multiple skills. Wherever you have an opportunity, please get skilled. Dakshata, nipunta in different kind of domains need to be acquired. And fortunately, you have technology to help you, assist you in doing that. This is where you need to leverage it. Skills. That is, you see, in the olden days also, what used to be taught to Gurukuls was not only the book knowledge. They would read Vedanta, Upanishads, whatever, but they would use, like for example, art of archery. You know the famous example of Arjun being asked by Dronacharya, what do you see? That's actually he was asked to make arrow and he's sort of supposed to shoot it. So expertise, actually doing it, that's what we really need to learn. You need to explore new areas, new options, new out-of-box kind of a thinking. Okay, next one. These are, of course, by this time are known to all of us. We can have the figures and what COVID did. And it is not the end of COVID-19. The pandemic will possibly have a cyclical, so we got to be prepared. But very fortunately, we learned from our experience and we used technology to our great advantage. But I think China or any other country will keep on, some rogue countries will keep on giving out some viruses from time to time. So we really have to be fully prepared, but more importantly, each one of us has to build up its own strong immune system. You see, you are attacked by external factor for two reasons. Either you are either the other person is more powerful, उसके बाद उसकी बंदूक ज़्यादा तेज होती है, और दूसरा रीजन होता है कि आप खुद कमजोर होते हैं. So both ways you get lost. Either or this. So if you're strong enough, so internal immunity I think is very important. So lifestyle systems, healthy system, healthy food, this that. So that's why pandemic will come, because the way we're treating this environment, these things will keep on happening. So we have to make sure that we become a strong, healthy nation. And the price of healthy nation, price of an unhealthy nation, in terms of dollars, is huge. So our nation, we can't afford to be unhealthy. We've been unhealthy for a very, very long time. I think this is where we need to, and most of us don't even know what we are. I'll spend 5 minutes a little later to define what we really are and what we need to understand. How many of you know your body? This body helps you to do everything. How much do you know about? Do you know any? Let me ask you one question. I'll understand. There is one organ in your body which takes oxygen directly from air. I'll know that you know about something about your body. Can you guess? There's one organ, very important organ, in your body, which otherwise oxygen is sent to different parts of the body through blood system. You inhale and through the blood, through capillaries, it reaches out to different organs. There's one organ. Skin gets no. Skin is not perforated. Skin में वो दाने नहीं होते ना कि अंदर से कोई हवा चली जाए. Skin के अंदर हवा जाती ही नहीं जाती. There are no pores. Lungs तो जाते, lungs को कहा, lungs डायरेक्टली थोड़ी लेती हो, तो नाक से जो लेते हैं वो जाती है lungs में ना. नहीं? Somebody said lungs. Who said eyes? Yes, eyes is the only organ. And why I'm saying you must know your body, then there are beautiful lessons to learn from there. Eyes, आप लोग जब सुबह उठते हैं जब, तो हल्का सा ब्लड होता है ना, हल्का सा गीला गीला भी होता है आंखों में. And you wash it with water and things and becomes little clear. So oxygen जो होती है, किसी भी organic substance जब act करती है तो film बन जाती है उसकी. It creates what is called oxidation process. So that you little, so your vision is little blurred in the mornings unless you wash it. So make it a habit to wash your eyes every morning. आपको cataract नहीं होगा. So what I'm saying is, if you know it, then you know the lessons from it. Eyes are the only organ in your human body. Every other. So there are multiple, and you're a fascinating piece of architecture by God or by nature. We don't know. You must know yourself. We have, now let me give you another interesting piece. We have a circulatory system, which is heart and arteries and veins and capillaries. If you put this entire circulatory system in one line, what is the total length of this? It'd be 2.5 times the circumference of Earth. You have it in you. That's why we call it Brahmasmi. I'm the God. You're 2.5 times more than God. I'm more than planet. I'm just mentioning these two. You must know it. One way, of course, is the good thing about this is that if you don't know, it doesn't matter to us. But so ignorance in that sense is bliss. But just imagine if you knew everything, you would be in a better position to handle yourself. The knowledge gives you power. But we think because the human body is the only thing which was designed by God to stay in automation mode. ये automation की आज हम बात करें ना, प्रकृति ने आज से जब से मनुष्य को पैदा किया था तभी उसने बोला ये बंदा ध्यान नहीं देगा अपने बारे में. He won't know anything about himself. So let me give him a lot of things in automation. Your blood in your body, how much time it takes to complete the entire circle? Any guess? I'm absolutely sure nobody can make a guess. Anybody makes a guess, I'll give him give an award. How much time does blood take to complete circle in your body? 45 seconds. Can you imagine? If you if you were to put our heart outside, heart pumps blood, and उसको बाहर रख देना, तो उसका जो blood pump करेगा ना, वो चौथे माले पे जाएगा building के. That's a force. We don't know this. It was such beautiful architecture, design, and engineering that we've got in creating in body, but we don't know. This is at a very body physical level, but we'll go on to the subtle level, which is far stronger than what you may not know yourself. But I think I'm not just suggesting to you. You guys know so much about engineering. You know how to design a machine, a car, or aircraft, but you don't know what yourself. I think I'm just leaving a thought with you. Up to you. कुछ ज़्यादा आपको नुकसान नहीं होगा if you don't know, but जानने से आपको फायदा ज़रूर होगा. That's the only thing which I can mention in this regard. I think we also we are the instrument in creating Viksit Bharat. We are the only one. We got tools, we got instruments, we got technology, we got resources, we got everything. But in the end of it all, it's you and I who would matter. So let's move on to the quick. This is a kind of a matrix in different kind of sectors. The sectoral kind of a matrix, you can sort of, I won't go into each of details. You can share it with the key factors, that skills required in each one of these. Cybersecurity, strict hygiene, personalization. These are kind of a standard system that we need to utilize and leverage. Next. Okay. So these are emerging watermarks of new business model. How new business model would emerge over a period of time, and these are the model which really means the complete paradigm shift from the existing models of development, because technology would be very highly immersive and people also would be leveraging it big time, and societal changes will happen. A lot of factors will emerge. So these are some of the models, business model. You'll have to new workplace. We already have a new workplace. Work from home concept was not heard before COVID, but now become hybrid work of hybrid. The expenses in hiring a huge place for putting about 500 people would go away. Cars would so these are the kind of disruption that are going to happen big time. And we got to be very careful about which one, customize it for our requirement and our needs. I think that's something which will really guide the road to development. Then, next. So these are some of the emerging scenarios which urbanization, growth of megacities, globalization, business, and then digital divide. Customization and personalization will also become very important. One size fit all will not happen. In fact, that's true even for education paradigm in your teachers and faculty. You cannot possibly, people at different levels of understanding. Even today, it's very important. So you need to tweak your pedagogical practices. You need to bring on more of flipped classroom concept to share and advance the syllabus that is going to be taught and let children come prepared. The task of teacher would become also more challenging. Because I know sometime, ever since the Google started becoming an important part, and now, of course, they banned usage of phones in the classrooms. But sometime it would happen that a teacher would be teaching something on subject, and meanwhile, the guy would, under the table, Google it. And and Google says something different from what the teacher has said. So straight away, so बहुत मुश्किल हो गई, बहुत teachers की बहुत तकलीफ बेचारे हो गई थी. This guy is challenging me, कल का छोकरा. But so that's something which is so we really have to very, very be careful about customization, personalization, building up separate profiles of each, and so these are the kind of changes we'll have to be very careful. And they probably certainly comes in some areas. They already have started coming in, making an impact, but we usko dekhna padega further. Next. So this will result into these kind of demand that you have individual person skills and people control. How do people behave the way this algorithm? How do people behave the way they behave? And the psychology will become center stage with the mental pressures and problems. Technology. Let me warn you. This will come with a lot of other side effects. प्यार के side effects, शादी के side effects, technology के side effects, and they're going to be huge. So we cannot possibly be just picking it up and using it and then say कि इसका तो वो बहुत जो side effects के बारे में हमको will have to be careful as to and how to treat them. That will be another skill that we'll have to generate. So these are some of the skills that we would be required. Some, we already are aware of them. But more important, apart from technical and digital, to baat kari hai, this is important socio-cultural one, cognitive one, green. So this is an outcome of the initial disruptive that we talked about in terms of environment, climate change, distance between impersonal kind of a relationship because of technology, etc. So these are the skills that we'll have to consciously generate. Emotional skills and intellectual skill, cognitive skills, and like I said, strong spiritual skills have to be consciously developed. These are not going to be only add-ons. They are going to be very fundamental, as fundamental as the technical skills. I'm not saying going to say that yeah, मेरे को spiritual होना है तो मेरे पास कोई option है. मैंने technology के बिना तो कर नहीं सकता मैं. But do I have to be really spiritual? That's a question that often. Yes. उसके बिना काम नहीं चलेगा. अगर हमको collectively development करना है. That's not an option available to us. So these are the kind of things that socio-emotional skills. They'll become integral part of a curriculum. In our school that I advise, we made two very strong social-emotional learning as a curriculum, integrated with subjects. Then health and well-being curriculums integrated. So these have become, and of course, and design thinking and all this concept, an integral part of curriculum. They're agnostic to any domain. मतलब physics, chemistry नहीं है, but physics, chemistry को समझने, retain करने में क्या किस इसकी other tool की जरूरत है, वो they're far important. So that is what we really need to, be careful about. Yes, next. Dealing with disruption. So isme, when the way you respond, I just made this kind of a graphic for you. You are here and present, you have multiple options available because the choices have become very large and, but you need to choose. They can be probable, plausible, possible, whatever, but you need to opt for the preferable one, keeping in mind all those things all these factors and parameters that we just discussed, which is the preferable option. Possible hoga, koi bhi ho sakta hai, but is it the right option that for the purpose of your objective? Short-term objective, long-term objective, which is the one so you need to be very careful. You see, you live your life by the choices that you make. You don't live by chance. Another thing which I like about Bhagavad Gita, you'll be surprised. There's about 700 verses in that and 18 chapters. Nowhere has Krishna mentioned Bhagya even once. And with a drop of a hat, we blame Bhagya. And मेरी किस्मत ही खराब है. मेरे साथ ऐसा करो, उसके साथ तो हो नहीं रहा. बुरा जगह होना होता. अगर अच्छा होता है तो then. So I think give up that, abandon the concept of Bhagya. It is in your hands, your control. At the end of it all, what you did yesterday, you will get today. What you're doing today, you will get tomorrow. Period. And these are not merely spiritual concept or karmic philosophy, but they're actually scientifically validated principle. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's principle of physics. So time and tested, but we become very convenient. Conveniently, it's convenient for us to blame others, and also don't be accused of victimization. Don't become victimism नहीं बने. मतलब दो चीजें जिंदगी में नहीं करनी चाहिए. एक तो प्रतिक्रिया न करिए जैसे, और दूसरे किसी को दोष मत दीजिए आपके लिए. अब आपके साथ जो हो रहा है, I don't think anybody is responsible for what is happening to you. Mark my word. Everything that happens to you on account of what you have done or what you have not done, which you should have done. Please remember that. कोई जैसे माई का लाल, nobody in this world can possibly harm you unless you either have created a situation or you have either stayed away from your responsibility or done something which is wrong. And so if जो लोग किसी को दोष देते हैं ना, वो उनसे दयनीय व्यक्ति, they deserve pity. Those who blame others, because they're weak. The only weak person blames others, not the strong one. These are some of the offside remarks that we need to remember. So I thought when we're taking a journey for such a huge task as developing our nation, then I think we need to be individually. Nation will become strong because a chain is as strong as individual parts. No, we are all individual parts of that curry. Next. So these are, of course, you can just take a look at that. I don't need to go into. These are English words, but each one of this empathy, engagement, collaboration, reciprocity. बड़े अंग्रेजी के शब्द हैं, but they probably have a meaning. You can find an equivalent in your own language also and apply it. And we of course use them quite often, but sometimes we fall short of that, so we don't go the full. So you need to be grateful to everybody in this world, because everyone has made an impact in your life. Generosity, gratefulness, express gratitude, pat people in the back. Develop that leadership style where you support others. If somebody's, in organization, the greatest leadership style is one where if something goes wrong, the organization, you take the credit. The boss takes the credit. A boss takes the blame. And if something goes wrong, if something goes wrong, he takes the blame. And if something goes right, he gives credit to the people down the line. That's what great leadership style, thriving leadership style is all about. So these are some of the concentric circles that I thought there's a planetary, societal, interpersonal, intrapersonal. So when you directly connect with the universal brotherhood or Vasudevam Kutumbakam, that concept that we all keep talking about, that word is one family. So whatever we do has an impact. You see, each one of us is strongly interconnected with each other. Whether we realize it or not, we are. And I'll go to a next level of our philosophical principles. And not only are we connected with each other, we are exactly the same. The fundamental thing that I'm not different from you or you, anybody. We have the same level of consciousness. It's a question of realizing it. It's a question. And you know what? The advantage of this thought is if I treat you exactly as I treat myself, then I will never harm you. I'll never abuse you. Because if I do, then I'm abusing myself. I will not do that. अपने आप को तो गाली कोई निकालता नहीं ना. And we don't hurt ourselves. Masochism or that. So I think these are some of the things that we really need to incorporate in our lifestyle, life systems. And if each one of us is grounded in that truth, then so next, Evan. So institution role here is I've sort of tried and drafted it. It can vary. You can pick your choose, take your pick, which is applicable to your systems. Vocational training, skills development, has to become the norm. You see, countries like South Korea, for example, their level of skilled part of education is almost about 90%. While India, our level is about only 5%. That's why we look at where South Korea, in a short span of time, overtaken almost Japan also in that regard. So I think this is where we need to, again, which is doing it, actually doing it, experiential. That's what we talked about earlier. Assessment also, I think continuous assessment is also, I'm sure all of you must be doing it. Often we have this tendency as a teacher to come and teach and share, do experimentation, this, that, and other. And we feel quite happy and satisfied that we've done our job. But the realization that what I've said and has been absorbed and retained by the child, so there are different modes of assessment. And I think this is where also technology comes to your rescue. You can sort of have a quick response in classroom concept where you can use as tools, AI tools, to make an assessment whether the teaching is happening. That's part of pedagogical practices that you need to involve. Next. So this is what the story. A story of self, which communicates who I am, my values, my experience, and why I do what I do. A story of us, our shared values, our shared experience, and why we do what we do. A story of our great nation. How have I contributed to society and towards nation? You know, एक तो पुरानी वो John F. Kennedy का statement था, ask not what you can do, what country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. वो तो पुरानी एक आज से करीब 70 साल की. एक वो अक्सर हम लोग घरों में भी एक वो उन्हें लाइटर मोड कहते हैं कि तो आप आए हो तो क्या लेके आए हो, आप जाओगे तो क्या देके जाओगे. We're all the time we are.
एक दूसरा भी है सर, मैं अगर आपके घर आऊं तो क्या लेके आएगा, मैं तेरे घर आऊं तो क्या खिलाएगा.
हाँ वही है, उसी का दूसरा वर्जन वही है कि आए हो तो क्या लाए हो, जाओगे तो क्या देके जाओगे. So that I think syndrome has to this belief that we are all will get what is due to us on account of what we've done. We got to get that belief in ourselves, in the system. But we are so impatient, we are so greedy. We don't wait for that. Most of you must have sometime watched National Geographic. देखा हो Animal Planet or Geography. वो उसमें एक बहुत बढ़िया सीन होता है जब एक herd of lions, धूप में धूप सेक रहे होते हैं, बैठे होते हैं सुस्ता रहे. They have had their fill. उन्हें जानवर खावा के सभी ने अपना शेयर खा लिया होता है. जो बैठे होते हैं उनके चारों तरफ हिरण घूमते रहते हैं in close proximity. Because the deers understand they're not going to kill us now. Because उनका घर पेट भरा हुआ है. हमारा पेट भरा हुआ है तो भी अपने नहीं, अपने generations के लिए, अपने पोते पता जाने किसके लिए अपना है. So animals are far better. We need to learn from them. There's so much to learn from the ecosystem all around us. So you have to, the most important part, whether it's a temporal word or spiritual word or societal word, it's very important for us to really understand who we really are. And I'll just take 2 minutes to describe what we really are, both at the very fundamental level and at the physical level, what is visible and what is not visible. And I'll sum it up with one beautiful verse from one of the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita. Can somebody, some of the maybe junior guys, junior lecturers, can you tell me what all do we have? What is, if you look at yourself, when you look at the mirror, what do you see? What position that you have? Can somebody volunteer to tell me? कोई? आप हाँ बताइए.
Attitude.
नहीं उसकी ऐसी बात मत कीजिए. ग्रो मतलब बताइए क्या है आप. एटीट्यूड छोड़िए. एटीट्यूड तो बड़ा वो है तो नहीं है. वेरी एटीट्यूड कैन वेरी ऑल्सो, बट क्या है आपके पास जो विच इज एवरीबडी हैज इट. नहीं आप दूसरे लेवल पे जा रहे हैं. आपके अंदर आपका टाइम तो उनके पास भी है ना. आपके पास क्या क्या व्हाट लेट मी गिव यू हैव अ बॉडी. आप खड़े होइए. यू आर ए बॉडी. आपकी बॉडी के अंदर और क्या क्या है. कहाँ सोल पे कहाँ पहुंच गए दिखा है. नहीं सोल कहाँ से आ गई आपका. आपने हैव यू सीन इट.
Have you seen it?
It is a shadow में आप देखो तुम्हें दिखती है आपको?
Soul दिखती है? Oh, very good. I'm so happy. You must be highly enlightened. तो I'm glad I asked you. उसके पहले क्या? Soul तो चलिए वो ultimate हो गया ना. We'll come to that. I agree what you're saying. But इसके अलावा जो दूसरे level hierarchy क्या क्या है? मतलब आपको दुनिया का आभास किस तरीके से होता है? How do you know that the word exists and what makes you? Senses. So body, उसके बाद senses. You have 5 senses which gives you knowledge, and you have also physical, the knowledge related, the work related senses, टांगे, हाथ, पांव वगैरह, और 5 आपकी वो ज्ञानेंद्रिय जिसे बोलते हैं. So from the body you move on to senses. So senses give you an appearance, the experience of the world. कि हाँ ये है. उसके बाद इंद्रिय जो आपकी सेंसेस हैं वो किसके अधीन चलती हैं, किसके नीचे? आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट हायरार्की ना. किसके नीचे चलती हैं वो? नहीं, आप यार हिंदी में बोलो, अंग्रेजी में बहुत वर्ड बड़े बड़े गड़बड़ जाते हैं. लेट्स बी, आई वांट टू बी वेरी वेरी, मतलब बहुत देसी तरीके से मैं अपनी भाषा में. तो आपने सोल कह दिया, आप आत्मा बोलते तो मेरे को समझ में आ जाता था. वो सोल तो पाँव का शुरू ही होता है शुरू. अच्छा, anyway, so English is a terrible language, and I somehow this is probably the worst language people have devised. No language doesn't really have any linguistic characteristics. Anyway, वो दूसरा सब्जेक्ट. तो जो आपका इंद्रियां हैं, जैसे खाना है या देखना है, या वो कौन कहता है आपको करने के लिए? मन. आपके अंदर जो है, आप बाहर मत जाओ ना, अपने अंदर. See, this is a typical sign. We tendency to move outward. हम लोग बाहर, no, you don't outsource it. I'm asking you from within yourself. आपको अच्छा देखना, फिल्म देखनी है, अच्छी महिला को देखना है, सुंदर कन्या है, अच्छी पिक्चर देखनी है, अच्छा खाना खाना है, वो कौन कहता है? किसके अधीन? आपका मन कहता है. यार फिर तुम मैं कह रहा हूं आपके अंदर क्या है? दोस्त तुम्हारे अंदर थोड़ी घुसा हुआ है. बट ही इज नॉट, ही इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम यू. आपके अंदर तो नहीं घुसे हैं, आपके दोस्त हैं. बट आई कैन व्हाट डू यू हैव? You can leverage the assistance and from outsource it from others. But I'm asking you a direct question: what you have within you as yours? So आपको मन है ना? मन कहता कि ये कर लो, तो आप खाना खा लेते हैं. मन कहता तो. So next level, so that we've got body, gross body, senses and मन. मन के ऊपर क्या लेवल है? चित्त. आपने थोड़ा सा सही वर्ड, मतलब वो वैसा वर्ड यूज कीजिए. सो नहीं, पंजाबी नहीं, पंजाबी में नहीं गया. चित्त पंजाबी, चित्त तो सर. हाँ, नेक्स्ट वर्ड इज इंटेलेक्ट, बुद्धि. बुद्धि. So we all of us have that, no? So these are, I think everyone has it. This is common to everyone. We've got body, we've got senses, we've got man, which man is a kind of a. Now each of these have their own attributes. जो आप पहले यूज किया, each of these have an attitude of their own. मन का एटीट्यूड पता क्या है? मन का एटीट्यूड क्या है? चंचल है, टिकता नहीं है एक जगह पे, चलायमान है. जरूरत ना भी हो तो भी कहते खा लो ज्यादा मिठाई, है ना? जरूरत ना भी हो तो भी कहता चले चलो यार मजा करते हैं. Get into all kinds of. But then above this man, you got buddhi. Now buddhi has fantastic the characteristics, attributes. It has got power of memory. It has got part of discrimination to tell right from wrong. पर हम मन को ज्यादा, बुद्धि को ज्यादा सुनते नहीं, ध्यान नहीं देते उसके. हम मन के साथ चले जाते हैं. See, there's Betty, you covered things pretty well. Here is a very classic definition. Again, I'm going back to that yada yada dharma se. जो chariot है ना, chariot, रथ, आप लोगों ने देखा होगा. रथ में क्या है? रथ में घोड़े हैं और कृष्ण उसकी लगाम पकड़ी हुई है, और अंदर बैठे हैं वो अर्जुन, और रथ है. तो इसकी एग्जाम्पल देते हैं कि रथ तो इज ह्यूमन बॉडी, और जो अर्जुन जो अंदर बैठे हैं वो क्या हो सकते हैं? वो है मन. He doesn't know. मारूं कि ना मारूं, करूं कि ना करूं, हथियार उठाऊं कि ना उठाऊं. He's चलायमान. He's not very sure. Sometimes he says I should kill, but फिर कहता नहीं मैं अपने कैसे मारूं. घोड़ाज आर, घोड़ा क्या हो सकते हैं? Senses. जो दौड़ते हैं सब तरफ. So घोड़ा have to be controlled. And Krishna is the intellect. And intellect and force को you finally then you can say, now these are actually real experiential ones. जो मैंने अभी soul को हम बाद में बात करते हैं. ये सब चीजें experiential हैं जो अभी बात करी. Body भी जानते हैं. हम senses के भी we have a familiarity with it. We also are familiar with our intellect. We know buddhi है, neurons हैं. It's validated. Science today tells you, MRI tells you, you got neurons. बुद्धि है. But क्या करता है ये we sort of, again we need to use our intellect to find out what the intellect does. But all over and above all, which you said soul, atma, you call it whatever, I would give it a name of pure consciousness and awareness, which is singular, runs through all of us. Now you need to sit back. This is what you really are. Now these are the instruments that you have with you. Now we need to find out, are we using these instruments in a positive and effective manner? Are we making full utilization? I just gave an example. Intellect में इतनी power हमारी है, लेकिन 10% use करते हैं. 90% we waste away in all kinds of engagement and all kinds of useless kind of activities. It's so productive. It's so useful. People have a capacity to memorize thousands of pages in one go. That's also. I'm being little immodest before you. थोड़ा सा मैं वो थोड़ी सी modesty को परे रख रहा हूँ. But I can just tell you that I memorized all 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit. I can chant them all. I just want to be very humble in that regard. What I'm saying, it is possible. That's where your intellect comes in. छोटी छोटी चीजों में इस्तेमाल होता है. Just giving. आपके credit card हम use करते हैं ना? Credit card. उसमें कितने digits होते हैं? 16 digits होते हैं. Does anybody remember? I remember all 16 digits. And CVV. तो मैं अगर मेरे पास कार्ड नहीं भी होता तो भी I can make payment. I can do transaction. No big deal. ये बहुत कोई ऐसी बहुत विशेषता नहीं है कि मैं कर रहा हूँ आप नहीं कर सकते. Each one of us can do it. This is the kind of advantage you can leverage. And if you have all these things readily available in your fingertips, you need to have tricks. You have to skills to do that. जैसे मैं अगर करता हूँ, I'm just sharing this bit of skills with you. 16 है ना, तो मैं 4 को पहले करता हूँ, फिर 4 करता हूँ, फिर 4 करता हूँ. They become part of my thing. All of us can do that. When I started learning Bhagavad Gita, and I said, भाई मेरे फरिश्ते भी इसको याद नहीं कर सकेंगे. What the hell? Then I said, नहीं यार, it's important. Then I got onto it. I did that, remembered it, broke it into pieces. My music came in handy to help me that. Then I wrote it down. Then I recited. So there's no shortcuts to it. But then you're able to do that. So I think this is it's very important for us to. Problem is that we find ourselves very boring. आपने सीधे अपने दोस्त के ऊपर आप आ गए ना, है ना? नहीं मतलब नहीं, वो टेंडेंसी होती है. मैं अकेला तो बहुत बोरिंग हूँ. मैं मेरे क्या करूँ, मतलब मेरे thoughts. So all the time we are seeking for some kind of a support and dependence but I think it's important for us to understand, reflect on our thoughts, see what all we can do. And I can tell you, it can do. After some time, you marvel, you challenge yourself, you marvel at your capacity. The more you eat, the more you want to eat. So the more you think, the more you are in a capacity to think. The more you do something, the practices makes you perfect. So I think there's no shortcut to these things. And I think this is where my understanding, my vision of Vikasit Bharat is not limited only to some of the disruption that we discussed earlier. My understanding Vikasit Bharat is that we are, I don't know, that's not a great thing. We are now the most populous nation in the world. 140. Each one of us should really understand our responsibility. Owe it to our country, great nation. सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. मैं भी अक्सर ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि दोबारा अगर जन्म लें तो मुझे यहीं दें हिंदुस्तान में. I love to be born Indian anytime, next year, next birth or whatever. I love this place, I love this country, I love my people, and that is the spirit we need to generate in each one of us. And one of the things that I forgot to mention that one of the things which is happening apart from the three factors of climatic change and technological disruption and climate change and conflicts that we talked about, I think country is now seeing, and without mentioning any personalities of, I think this country is now trying to leverage its biggest strength, which is its spiritual renaissance. We need to revive that, values, systems, and blend it with the modern world. If you're able to judiciously mix these two, nobody can talk about 30 trillion economy, talk about the most developed country in the world. आपको ये पता होना चाहिए था, by 15th century, today we are in the 21st century. Sada time, 15th century, recorded by a British historian, economic historian. He says, India को हम सोने की चिड़िया कहा करते थे एक ज़माने में. India in 15th century had 25% of the world global GDP. Global GDP ka 1/4 GDP belonged to India. This is not written by an Indian, it's written by a British economist. Then the Muslim emperor came, brought down to something like 12 to 15%. They marauded, took away a lot of wealth from here. फिर ये कमबख्त अंग्रेज आ गए, तो वो by the time they left in 47, we were down to about 2% of the global GDP. We really haven't moved very much from that, maybe 3%. I hope we reach that level. But just imagine, we were 25%. If we can become 25%. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Humanize your relationships with God and divinize your relationship with humans. Thank you, Mr. Malhotra, for the insightful address. More things change, more they remain the same. So your thoughts about fundamentals has been very thought-provoking. So you also highlighted about the importance of disruptive events and technologies and how synergy between mankind and these technologies are important to set the tone of what vision of Viksit Bharat we are looking at for 2047. And we got a lot of insights on how we can contribute towards it as a technical institute and moreover as citizens of India and citizens of this earth primarily. So how global conflicts, they need attention, emotional disruptions, how they have arisen and they need reflection. Development should be need-based and not greed-based so that there is samta or balance in the ecology. Judicious generation and use of automation and data should be the ethical concern for the digital environment. So, sir, with all these, your presence has given us a big boost and also a new dimension to our ever-growing efforts towards the development of India. And we look forward to contribute also towards Viksit Bharat with all our strength, embracing the modern technologies and being grounded to our heritage at the same time. Thank you so much, sir. I would request Director, sir, to please join us on stage and extend our deep gratitude to Mr. Malhotra on behalf of our Nitter Chandigarh family with a small token of love.
Thank you. Oh, that's great. I treasure this.
So coming to the conclusion of today's talk, on behalf of Nitter Chandigarh family, we express our deepest gratitude to Sri Malhotra for being with us today and sharing his valuable thoughts. I would like to thank our director, sir, for his visionary guidance with which Nitter Chandigarh is making its impeccable mark in its role as a teacher trainer and also the forerunner of embracing the dynamics of national interest and global interaction. Many thanks to Ministry of Education and AICT for choosing our institute to be a part of this endeavor. And a special thanks to the members of press and media for covering this event and joining us. Many thanks to the departments, administration, IME, estate, media, engineering accounts for their unstinted support for the conduct of this session. And congratulations to the organizing team led by Professor Maitri for their tireless and fruitful efforts. And thank you everyone in the audience for giving us your time and joining us. And we could benefit from Mr. Malhotra's presence. तो खुश स्वस्थ निपुण और संतुष्ट भारतीय बनाएंगे विकसित भारत. वंदे मातरम. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for summarizing everything so beautifully. I mean, I couldn't have done it.
क्या ले लो.